Hey, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages? Welcome to round one of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June tournament finals, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got 4 rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way today. But first and foremost, for those of you who aren't acquainted as to who I am, I'm RedEyes, your ever-lovable and adorably cuddly cast to bring you that daily dosage of butt-kickery, tomfoolery, and all-around shenaniganism. And we have a stacked lobby for you today, boys and girls. We got InHyper, YKG, Passion Fruit, Execute, Mezexis Esports, Aton, Jaguar, Infinity, The Lycans, Deuces Family, Criminals, J Nepal, Tiny Fan Club, Wanted Vigilantes, Rude Dudes, Just, Excuse, Godlike NA, Black Mamba NA, and Puppeteer. So I'm expecting nothing but action right off the bat. And we can already see we're kicking things off with the very first map ever, Erangel. What do we need to say about a map like Erangel? Well, essentially it's the off-bred love child of Sanhok and Miramar because it really is the perfect middle ground between those two extremes, which is going to leave it fairly reliant upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting. And as you can see, it's by no means a perfectly centralized flight path, but it is going to be an opportune one enough that it's going to give our participants at least a decent number of early drop options. But as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we're already getting some congestion up towards this northern region around the Georgia pole, north and south, as well as a little bit to the south of it, too, between the Lycans and members of Deuce's family. A little bit further off down towards the center portion of the map, we can see members of Godlike jumping towards the Pachinki region, and it doesn't look like they're going to really have anyone to compete with for that at all. So they should be in a pretty decent position in that light. But let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gents. My apologies about that. So as I said, we are kicking things off with the very first map ever introduced to the game. Of course, this is going to be Erangel. Now, while I do have a brief moment, just to go over a couple of the finer details, we are going to be doing things with the standard scoring structure, the updated PMPL structure. So what does that mean for us as viewers? It means that placement is going to be placing a little bit less emphasis than prior, and eliminations are going to be counting a little bit more. I'm going to switch my attention just briefly to the Criminals, just because they are in very close proximity to members of Passion Fruit. And as you can see, a lot of these teams here that we have invited to the party need no introduction, but Passion Fruit just rolling with a all-star list here of heavy hitters. We got Juancho, Zuko, Sickless, and Valak, and they've got money on the mind. So, but while we do have just a brief moment before the action kicks off, I just want you guys to understand how we got to here. We ran 3 rounds of qualifiers, and in those qualifiers, 20 teams would compete, and of that, 4 would advance from each. Now, as I said, 3 qualifiers means 12 qualified participants plus the 8 invited Tier 1 professionals, where they're all going to duke it out right here and now for that $450 prize pool. All right, now, wow, these guys are definitely going to be a little close to each other. Look at Valak right up next to 99 and going to pull a sneaky water snake move. He's pulling a Michael Phelps, ladies and gentlemen, and trying to lay low under the radar and not draw any early attention to himself, especially not before getting properly looted. Switching over to the coastal edge, just above Hospital and below the South George region, we can see members of Lycans not too far off in proximity from Deuces, but it actually looks like that they're going to be getting a little bit more space there after all. Well, oops, sorry about that. I just realized I had my own stream pulled up. Well, we got the Rude Dudes actually have taken a hit already. Manny has been eliminated, leaving things reliant upon Bangu, Zeus, and Titan. And that's going to be a bit of a conundrum considering the 2-1 split of their opponents in Black Mamba. We got Papi Triste and Shop holding over just above the rooftop here and literally sandwiching the boys in Rude Dudes right here. And, ooh, this is an opportunity for Zeus to catch him unawares, but it looks to me like Black Mamba is fairly aware of their opponent's location here. And as you can see, Papi Triste not giving any easy peek here, but keeping the pressure on him from the first story. Well, there's a little trouble right there as he is taken down quickly, leaving it reliant upon Cat God and Bishop here. Bishop does get the retaliatory knock, the revenge serve, cold, fast, and on a platter here. But what's it going to be for Rude Dude's Bangu? Oh boy, Bishop's on the push with that UMP 45, that closer combat annihilator, and look at it work. No time for him to react there, and that is going to leave a real conundrum here for this final Rude Dude, Mr. Titan himself, who holds an overwatch from the sniper tower over Cat God. And honestly, if I were him, I would probably say laying low under the radar might be the best option, considering how early in the first stage of the first match we are. You don't want to give up your opportunity for your team to actually have a shot at winning that $450 prize pool. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that's a $400 first place prize along with a $50 top frag most kills prize. Thanks to our sponsors, Hunter of Gunmen, Glacier Gaming, Crafton, and Lightspeed Studios. All right, we got some of our crew here in the Wanted Vigilantes driving very close to members of Deuce's family, but as you can see, Deuce's did not seem all too eager to be drawing any attention to themselves. It looks like they were a ways away from the teammates, and I agree with their decision to try to prioritize a rotation into zone there. So that leads us to wonder what's going to happen here in this standoff between Passion Fruit and the Criminals. Well, it's been looming on for a little bit of time here, but as you can see, off in the distance, Zuko and Valak both have taken a little bit of damage, but it seems to be a very slow progression for this altercation here between these two teams. Both of them exercising a lot of caution here, and I like to see it because it means that they're not taking this opportunity for granted. You know, there's just 4 matches to decide who's going to take that $400 prize. A lot of money on the line for just a quick few matches, and you can tell Passion Fruit wants to leave a mark here. All right, well, I think I'm going to go quickly pull up the alt map because we have a potential altercation between another few teams. Getting eyes on YKG for just a brief moment. It doesn't look like that's something that we need to worry about just yet. So I think, tell you what, we'll go there on the main screen here, just in case anything does happen. But we'll keep an eye out on the map on the alt cam. And I do apologize about the renders, ladies and gentlemen. It appears little hiccups here, but keep in mind this is a mobile game at the end of the day. All right, so I think we might be getting some potential congestion here towards the north end of this new zone. And this is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of our participants who have that in mind. And the reason I say that, ladies and gentlemen, is because if you're to take notice here, pardon me, if you get that northern coastal edge, that's one entire side that you don't really need to account for. The odds of being pulled up behind by a team in a boat, it's slim to none, you know, especially considering we're 5 years into this game. Not a lot of people are going to be giving up any easy mistakes or making their location known with any easy motors here. But we do see already we're going to get some congestion here, and it's going to be between members of Execute and their opponents in Aton. So that's what I'm going to be starting things off with here. We'll catch eyes on the boys in Execute. It's going to be Casper, Kelly, Fate, and the man, the myth, the legend himself. He's back. The kill switch has been flipped. All right. Well, they are close to Aton, but nothing happening just yet. So, this can be expected, you know, in large maps, ladies and gentlemen. These little bits of silence, bits of downtime. But you know what I always say is, you know, a more passive early game is only going to directly translate to a more action-packed and climactic mid or end game, so it'll be worth the trade. All right. Well, it looks like our boys in Hyper, GK First, Koi, Rin, and FSS holding position here, not too eager to chase the opponent. Oh, looks like the Tiny Fan Club going off in the distance. We'll go ahead and catch some eyes just to see what's going on there. Now, as you can note, the Tiny Fan Club is not faring too well thus far, already being reduced down to their final member. It looks like Trouble, Dusku, and Movement have been eliminated fairly early on here, leaving Bubble as the final hope for the team. Now, as I said earlier, you don't want to be giving away any opportunities this early on to have a shot at winning that first place prize. So you don't want this Bubble to pop. I think the best move for him is to try to acquire at least some decent placement. Now, While placement is less emphasis, it does not mean that it does not have a purpose. All right, we'll go ahead and check in on Ren of InHyper. He's currently sandwiched in between the Puppeteers and members of Infinity, but it looks like they'll be getting space on both sides. But the remainder of InHyper finding themselves sandwiched in between Deuce's family, and it looks to be, yep, that's going to be the opponents in J Nepal. This could be interesting, especially considering if InHyper is aware of J Nepal's location. It would give a real opportunity for a gatekeep scenario. Okay, what else is happening on the playing field, ladies and gentlemen? Not a whole lot just yet. But that's to be expected. This is just match one, and the players are definitely acting like it. Okay, all right. I'm curious. Yep, here we have it. It looks like members of AT7 could be preparing to face off against their southbound opponents in Just Esports. So, yeah, let's go check in on it just to see. Yeah, we got Milo's here next to a four-piece of Just Esports, and that is not a situation he wants to engage in. As you can see, turning his tail right to him and quickly driving away, just trying to reunite with his teammates, and I don't blame him 1 second for it. So where's our next bit of action going to come from? We haven't really seen a whole lot of blood on the playing field just yet, but it's still early on. One of Vigilantes going after YKG, and Fears suffering the hit right there and then. Pardon me, not FSS suffering the hit. No, Fears suffering the hit right there. Rookie mistakes happen. Well, that's going to leave 24Ks down as well. It's going to leave Joey and Chico remaining here. And as you can see, Joey weighing his options and realizing he's going to have to cut the losses, dipping out of dodge. And as I say it, they pull a surprise turnaround. Just him and Chico pulling up to the party. And keep in mind, they're both already injured, low on health, and ready to take on this fight. They're not one bit intimidated by their opponents, but maybe they should be, as Joey is taken down right there and then, leaving Chico as the final hope for YKG. And look at him go. AK-47 in hand and using it. Now, I just now noticed that the game feed is not allotting for you guys to see the weapons. Now, I've never had that happen before, so let me just fix that. There we go. All right, we are back in action there. So, what should we be tuning into? Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you weren't aware, we are doing 10 600 UC codes over the course of tonight. There's so many opportunities. Wow! Chico laying an absolute onslaught, a thunderstorm of bullets on the wanted Vigilantes. But then, oh boy, bullets raining back down on him in retaliation. Not a whole lot hitting, but keeping the pressure on him for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, before I forget my train of thought here, we're doing 10 600 UC code giveaways, tons of opportunities to win, thanks to Crafton and Lightspeed Studios. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the very, very first UC code. Now, this link is only going to be pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. And ladies and gentlemen, ooh boy, is this going to hit? Oh my goodness! Chico with an absolute monster nade onto Fishy. Wow. Just, that is pro gameplay in a nutshell for you, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That is clipped and titled right there. But without further ado, the very first UC code of the day. Only going to be redeemable by clicking the link that's pinned to the top of the YouTube chat feed. It is dun, 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 CKEQZMJZ4BQ. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll only be redeemable at the link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on something else, be sure to come on over to the YouTube. Only match one will be streamed on other platforms. After that, it's a YouTube exclusive. All right. Well, we've got a very close altercation here between the boys in Aton Esports and their opponents in Godlike. Godlike, one of the recent qualifying teams here. It looks like they might also just be a two-piece, so this could be a fair fight between the two teams. But we're seeing action elsewhere on the playing field. We're going to go pull that up on the alt map. It looks to be Jay Nepal up against members of Infinity. So we got that. We have KK here holding position on the stairway, just trying to pull that 300 tactic where numbers count for nothing, so to speak. Yoraji holding position as well. Not going to be a whole lot of easy opportunities for Infinity to catch them unawares. They're not going to be giving any easy peeks here, but they aren't too far off at all, as our boy here, Fury, is a good example here to show just one house over. All right. Yeah, we'll keep that up here just since not a lot else happening. And I think on the main map, tell you what, we'll go to that, what we were just checking out here on the main. All right, well, that's Execute Esports going in. I hope you believe in ghosts, ladies and gentlemen, because they believe in you. And Execute Casper putting that work in and potentially providing the second kill for the team. And keep in mind, Execute is still a full four-piece. And while you cannot downplay the importance of being a full four-piece, especially come in-game, that's not all that's on the table. When there's cash on the board, you can expect no easy opportunities being given, at least not in match one. And here we see it. Fate of Team Execute with an aggressive advancement upon his opponents in Mizexis, keeping the pressure on from up close while his opponents do so from a distance, but no time to waste. In Hyper and YKG having at it, and it looks like In Hyper has already sealed the deal. YKG eliminated fairly early on, I believe. Oh, we got GK first, wasting no time. Focusing on another team. This time it's going to be the boys and Deuce's family. We got Saint going in the distance. Now, this is going to be a great point to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Hunter of Gunmen and Glacier Gaming, who literally fund the entirety of this prize pool out of the kindness of their hearts, asking nothing in return ever. Just the nicest people I've ever met, probably. And I just think, you know, if you appreciate this event at all, please be sure to reach out to them and let them know how much you appreciate them as well. All right. We got so many things happening on the board all at once right here and now. Speaking of which, Mizexis Crow driving through multiple teams and just an onslaught of bullets, meeting him head on, taking him out of the equation. That's that. But look at this. The friendly ghost is not so friendly as Casper of Execute strikes again. But if you take notice, his boys, Fate and Killswitch, very close up to another threat here. The final criminal member, Mr. Pedro himself, just across the way. One street separating him from a three-piece Tier 1 team. All right, well, excuse going off in the distance as well. I'm definitely going to have to catch an eye on that here just to see what's going on. That's going to be Team 19. Now, Excuse has also lost half of their starting lineup, so it's going to be down to Matt and Kai. Matt barely escaping that altercation alive, but doing so, and as I quote all too often from the scripture of Vin Diesel, it doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. Well, what about Just Esports right up next to the opponents in Godlike here, and not to forget that they've also got Jay Nepal holding just that little off angle here with a little sliver of hill to peek over. That geographical cover is being used perfectly by Jay Nepal. However, they might have to worry about In Hyper coming up from the alt side. And yes, here we go. Lucifer driving right into the altercation. And boy, Lucifer has sent straight down to the underworld as In Hyper has no tolerance for it. Rin taking Fury out of the equation, and that's going to leave Jay Nepal down to Yoa Raji here. NHP wasting no time. Godlike pushing in on the opponents and Execute. Now keep in mind, L desperately in need of a heal, so he's going to have to do that while Neo and Astro do Overwatch, cover fire, and hold off a four-piece of Execute. Astro in full form there, accompanying God L's takedown. All right, but boy, oh boy, are the bullets ever hitting back. Killswitch with an off angle here. really has an opportunity. But look, off in the distance, we got the boys in Puppeteer, a well-known Tier 1 team as well. And they got here by doing it the hard way, ladies and gentlemen. They qualified, and when they found out they weren't going to be an invited team this month, which is obviously not personal at all, we have to just keep things changing up each month, so we're not predictable. But then they decided, hey, we're going to come in and show our support and participate, get here the hard way, and they did so in flying colors. All right, quickly switching over to Black Mamba, which is now just a two-piece of Bishop and Catguard. And Bishop just sacrificing himself on an unnecessary platter to the opponent, leaving the cat as the final hope. And let's just hope he can land on his feet here, as they tend to do. It is not going to happen. Execute swarms on him. Boy, FSS with the vehicle explosion onto Infinity Esports. But boy, they're going to have to be careful, because Execute pulling an off-angle rotation could catch them unawares. And here we have it. Shots onto FSS, taking him down to 1/4 of his overall health. Can he reunite with his teammates under this compound cover and hold off his opponents at bay? Well, we can see elsewhere on the playing field, there's other fights. Let's go check in on Wanted Vigilantes, another Tier 1 team that qualified the hard way. Well, guess what? It's down to Anders trying to get a finish on his opponents in Jaguar Esports. Victex is knocked, leaving it down to Joko, Mercy, and Saba. We got Joko trying to pull the revive. But ladies and gentlemen, we are reaching the ending zones here of our first match of the day, and it's going to be all-out bloodbath warfare from this point on. Look at InHyper, full 4-piece with 8 kills to their name already. All right. Well, GK first with the vehicle explosion to finish the deal there on Just Esports. Now, they're not out of the equation entirely, but boy, oh boy, what a hit to their ego here. That's going to put, yep, they're out of the equation now. I withdraw that statement. Just eliminated. As I say it, the caster curse is real. If you didn't believe in it before, get to believing. All right, well, Anders, the final member of Wanted Vigilantes, utilizing this tiny little shack, this false sense of comfort, these 4 walls of false security, all that's separating him from life and death. And boy, one nade thrown just carelessly through that little sliver of a window would be enough to take him out like fish in a barrel. Ooh, Rin taken down in the distance, leaving InHyper down to their final hope, FSS. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, look, ladies and gentlemen, InHyper boasting a very healthy 10 kills here, and half of those kills go to this solo remaining FSS. And so you gotta admit, you can't rule them out when they're half of the points all on this last guy. Crazier things have happened. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, that's a fail right there. My apologies. Put some crickets on that, because InHyper is still a 3-piece. For some reason, I misread that. My apologies. All right, well, that does change up my prediction for this very drastically. With InHyper being a 3-piece, that is a very formidable opponent here. Just one of the most renowned Tier 1 organizations in North America. You do not want to be testing them at all. Oh, goodness. All right, that's enough of that. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, we are about to get it. The final showdown is about to commence. Ladies and gentlemen, GK First is getting ready for it right now, but are you ready? We got 5 teams remaining spread across 12 people. It's going to be InHyper, Godlike, Excuse, Wanted Vigilantes, and Jaguar. Wow, Jaguar is a 4-piece. InHyper is a 3-piece. We could be due for some intense in-game action. Oh boy, FSS keeping the pressure on as Koi using the... Oh wow, it's a 3x import, catching the off angle and utilizing that geographical cover with only a boulder separating him from a nade. He still utilizes that high ground, but oh, the bullets do catch him as Joko retaliates, and that's going to leave everything riding on GK First. Oh boy. But He's getting a little closer. I don't know if he'll be able to secure any revives from this position, especially considering the open ground that FS is going to have to tread through to get to that compound. Now, luckily, we got FSS, or pardon me, Koi, getting a little bit close enough here. Down to our final 3 teams, 9 people on the playing field. Right. Tell you what. We'll get the sky cam up on the alt view. Oh man, well, it looks like Jaguar is going to be the first team to occupy the zone. And look at Jaguar in full form here. Really just dominating the playing field almost here. With 12 kills to their name. And yeah, still a full 4-piece. Remember what I said earlier. Can't place enough emphasis on being a full 4-piece come in-game. And now you're about to see why. But there we have it. InHyper doing what InHyper does. Just in full momentum and confidence. Annihilating more members of the playing field. We are down to 2 teams. It's going to be Jaguar versus InHyper. A 4v3 fight to end round 1. But keep in mind, InHyper currently down to 2 members. Oh, they were able to stick the revive as I said it. So we got a 3v4 on our hands, ladies and gents. Oh, here's the push from InHyper. GK first, taken down to about half health as FSS pulls up and Victex catches him unawares from behind the boulder, that off angle. And this is where the spread that Jaguar is utilizing is almost perfect. I honestly don't know what I would do differently in that situation, especially up against a team like InHyper. And there they have them, outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned. The Jaguars have struck, ladies and gentlemen, and finishing round 1 with a full team and an extremely healthy 15 kills on the playing field. That is a message to everyone here at these finals that Jaguar came to play. They're a tier 1 team, and they're going to show you how they became one right there and then. Look at that. 10 kills between Victex and Joko alone, and no one... Okay, thank you, Chris. I'm just getting... my staff just reminding me, we have our second UC code up for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Be without further ado, for those of you waiting for it, let's get into it. Dun, 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 dun. The second UC code of the night is CKEQZMJZ4BQ. Now that link is at the top of the YouTube chat. You're going to need to go there to redeem it. First come, first serve. Whoever enters it first will be taken home 600 UC as a result. Oh, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. That is actually incorrect. So now that everyone has had a fair chance to open up those tabs, apparently that was code number 1 still. Here is code number 2. CKEQZMKZGR3. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the 600 UC code. Now, I also want to ask in the chat, someone had suggested yesterday that maybe for these UC codes to kind of even the playing field from people with unbelievable internet connections, about maybe potentially keeping the last number, as a question mark, meaning, if it's a number, I'll say it's a number. If it's a letter, I'll say it's a letter. But, rather than having that 3 at the end of this code, it would just go to R, and then it's a guessing game, so everyone has to kind of compete for it. If that's something you guys are interested in doing, let me know in the chat, and we can entertain that possibility. But let's go ahead and keep going, ladies and gentlemen. We got more results here on the board. InHyper taking that silver medal second place finish, but doing so with a healthy 12 kills, and half of them belong to FSS. Phenomenal performance on their end as well. Let's not discredit Godlike, our, I believe, Group C qualifiers, taking bronze, third place finish with 5 kills on the playing field, 4 of which go to L alone. Well, excuse taking 4th place with 6 kills, and 4 of those 6 go to Matt alone. The one at Vigilantes in 5th with 4 as well, half of which go to Anders. We got the Puppeteers stringing their way into 6th place with 3, 2 of which are from the man of PMPL himself, the Dong. And we got Execute Esports securing 7th, but doing so with a pretty darn healthy and ironic 7 kills. All right. 8th place belonging to Just Esports with 2. We got Galactic Esports in 9th with 2 kills from Dylan. The Lycans coming in 10th, but with 4 kills on the playing field. The Passion Fruit Boys in 11th this time around with 1 kill from Valak. We got the Black Mambas snaking their way into 12th with 4 kills, 3 of which came from Bishop. Jay Nepal in 13th, but with a big fat onion for kills. Speaking of onions, we got the Criminals doing no crimes and killing no people in 14th place with 0 kills. The Deuces family gonna have to reconvene in 15th place with 1 kill from Biosick. Aton Esports securing 16th with 2. Mizexis in 17th with 0. YKG in 18th with 1 kill from Chico. The Rude Dudes politely finishing in 19th place with 0 kills. And TFC in 20th and last place with 2 kills, both of which came from Bubble. Well, ladies and gents, that is just 1 of 4 rounds out of the way. But, you know, that's our first map ever, Erangel. Realistically, that's the map our participants are supposed to be most familiar with, most acquainted with, most practiced on, and most synergized on. So yeah, I expect the best performances to come from that map. But what is going to happen when we change up the environment a bit and take things to that wide open, arid, dry desert? I am, of course, speaking about Miramar as we return for round 2 of 4 of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June Tournament Finals, brought to you and sponsored by Hunter of Gunmen, Glacier Gaming, Crafton, and Lightspeed Studios in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 2 of 4. I said, welcome back to round 2 of 4. Alright, okay. That was weird. Round 2 of 4 of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June Tournament Finals, brought to you and sponsored by Hunter of Gunman Glacier Gaming, crafted in Lightspeed Studios. We're kicking off round 2 as, you guessed it, that dry, wide open desert of Miramar. Now, what do we need to say about a map like Miramar? Essentially, it's our largest map in the game. Now, technically, that's not true, as Erangel's also an 8x8, but that includes Erangel's bodies of water. So realistically, this is going to be our largest map. Meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other just going to be a bit slimmer. But you got to remember, it's also the most open map that we have in the game. So the odds of you being sniped from 300 meters away kind of exponentially higher than any other map. So it sort of evens out. And the third and final thing I want to say about Miramar is that the map is so large that it finds itself almost entirely reliant upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting. And as you can see, it is a perfectly centralized path here. Almost perfectly centralized, centralized enough that our participants are just left with a smorgasbord, a superfluous amount of drop options. Now, what does that mean for us, the viewer? Essentially, it could mean that we are left with a little bit of a slower start. But as I said in round 1, ladies and gentlemen, a more passive early game only means a more action-packed and climactic mid or end game, so it'll be worth the trade. All right. Well, while we have just, I guess, this brief moment here, we can see members of Deuce's family sandwiched in between InHyper and members of Aton. That's stuck in between a rock and a hard place, all too literally. But look at the spread on Aton. And Choco is just now landing. All right. Well, no time to waste, apparently. Yeah, we had Leoncino here. He got a quick takedown on one of the rude dudes, but boy, revenge was introduced to him awfully quickly there. That's going to leave it down to Chuko and Milo here. All the while, several teams clustering around each other elsewhere. As you can see on the alt map, we've got members of J Nepal facing off against other rude dudes like Zeus. And further off to the San Martin area, Excuse and Godlike potentially preparing for an altercation, while on the western front, we got one of Vigilantes getting ready to fight the boys in blue, YKG. All right, well, we got Fierce at the forefront of this with that DBS double-barrel shotgun, absolute monstrosity of a close-quarter combat weapon. I think we've all seen the posts at this point, but supposedly, that DBS is going to get a well-needed nerf. And I am thankful because, boy, oh boy, I can't compete. Well, we also got members of one of Vigilante's next door here. You can see Skur and Illusion just holding position. But so much else happening on the playing field. And it's a little bit ironic to notice this, you know, because we had a slower start on a smaller map. But here we have it. What, you know, you would think, based off the flight path and the map alone, that this would be the highest odds of a slow starting game. Well, not the case in the RedEyes tournament, because these boys are getting into it already. Rin securing a little high angle here, and ironically taking all the attention away from GK first, and he is able to capitalize on that mistake of his opponents right there. Deuce's family is down to it. They went from being, you know, a 4-piece, I believe now, to a 2-piece with one very close to being knocked. Yep, Biosick not able to do much here in terms of healing because he does not have the resources. And boy, Koi capitalizes with a mini 14 right away. No time was wasted. And Deuces has been reduced down to Ricky alone here. So many other potential altercations here on the playing field. We can see two members of InHyper literally sandwiching somebody from Aton. I think that's what I'm going to go tune into on the alt map, just to see. And yeah, it's going to be Milo who's sandwiched in between these two members of J Nepal. And he's got this little rooftop holding here, but as you can see, his back is clearly turned to one of the opponents, so I don't think he had any idea of his location. But going ahead and advancing upon the opposition on his own, it's going to be a risky move. But speaking of risky, we got In Hyper, one of the top performing Tier 1 teams in North America, swarming upon this final member of Deuce's family, Ricky Z2K. And boy, the bullets doing the heavy load of the damage, but then Hellfire raining right next to him. He barely missed that molly, able to utilize a first aid just in time, trying to boost up, and it looks like In Hyper's going to allow it. But as they come in, just swarming on him like mosquitoes in a hot North Carolina summer, they had him outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. All right. Further off outside the zone, in the southwestern portion of the map, we can see members of Mezexis holding this coastal region here, and it looks like it is with a strong purpose, and that purpose is to gatekeep the 20th place holders in round 1, the TFC crew. So I think what I'm going to tune into right now, yep, just like that, is our final member of J Nepal, Lucifer. Now, Lucifer was the last member of his team, I believe, in round 1 as well, so hopefully he'll be able to lay low and not draw any unnecessary attention to himself, maybe even get some sort of placement here for his team. But boy, talk about Aton keeping a pressure on him. If we take notice of just what they're doing, you see Milos holding the low ground off angle, getting 2 different perspectives on the opponent here, and then the high ground holder, Chuko. Well, Chuko quickly realizing that Lucifer's not going to be presenting any immediate opportunities unless pushed to do so. He says, all right, I'll go join you. We'll see if this is worth taking on the fight. So I think I'm going to switch back to YKG, the boys in blue, currently laying low right now. They had a bit of a rough start in round 1. You know, they were able to put up some kills, but being eliminated fairly early on, I believe, and maybe even eliminated somewhere around like the 10th place, I believe. So they got a lot of slack in the rope to make up for here. They're going to have to cover some serious ground over these next 3 matches, and they're going to have to do so with a little bit of the best of both worlds, meaning that they're going to have to make sure that they make it to that in-game placement and acquire those placement points, but simultaneously, they're going to have to be on the hunt, the aggressive hunt, actively searching for the kills. The good thing is that this is YKG, and that's what they were going to do anyway. Alrighty. Yep, we got a couple altercations potentially forming. Looks like just outside of Los Leones on the western front, Execute potentially going to play the police to this team of criminals. It looks like Jaguar is going to go after AT7, and that's going to put it all down onto Lucifer once again. That is, oh, pardon me, not Lucifer. Aton is teammate. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to leave it down to Chuko and Milos. And it looks like the Tiny Fan Club swallowing more bullets, not going to face a much better outcome here in round 2 than they did in the first. Looks like Jaguar really doing exactly what they did in round 1. Same strategy and beautifully placed here. And this is a term I talk about almost every single time I cast. And it's a term that I've coined, the BOA method, because I really don't know what you would officially call it. But it's essentially when a team will utilize a 3-1, 2-2, or a 1-1-1-1 split around their opponents and constrict on them simultaneously, putting in that panic factor. You know, you can react in the heat of the moment, but when you're reacting to 4 different angles of bullets coming at you at once, that's when you make mistakes. Now, why don't we see this every single, play? Why is it that that is not done all the time? It's because it's a very, very, very difficult maneuver to pull off and get positioning on without catching your opponent's awareness. So you have to be able to exert a lot of patience, a lot of practice, a lot of adapting in the moment. But yeah, the patience is a big part of it. And it's, again, to do all that without your opponent having a clue, it happens a little less often than I'd like to admit, but it does happen, especially at the Tier 1 level. 2 teams that I think were just phenomenal with it were Nova Esports and the Panthers. The Panthers, they had a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of their assessment. But boy, to deny that they had unbelievable potential, it would be crazy. And one thing that I use to exemplify that is the fact that they did always pretty well execute that BOA method. All right, so I'm curious, where's our next taste of blood going to come from, if not right here between the Lycans and the Jaguars? What's going to happen when a cat faces a wolf, a dog and a cat, a wolf and a jaguar? Corny little dad jokes. Well, it looks like the Lycans are going to leave with their tails tucked and head northbound, prioritizing a placement into zone, and I don't blame them. Still lots of time ahead of us in this match, and as you can see, it looks like Godlike and Execute might prepare for an altercation, and Godlike really utilizing the geography here. Taking the assessment of that new zone, they secured some decent high ground and Overwatch. Looks like that has all been compromised after I opened my big mouth, but it would have been great for a huge Overwatch angle over numerous opponents, so I'm curious as to why they gave that up. Well, here is exactly why. All right, lots of ground ahead of us too. So I think I'm going to tune in just in case to this potential altercation that could form between the likes of Excuse and Black Mamba. Now, the Mambas could be becoming some sneaky desert snakes here, some sand snakes. But it doesn't look to be the case necessarily. I think they're just holding this high ground in Overwatch because it's such a geographical advantage. But when you take it into assessment, ladies and gentlemen, Excuse and Black Mamba, whose positioning is better? Let me know in the chat what you think. Is it going to be the high ground geographical, high ground Overwatch holders in Black Mamba, or is it going to be the low ground but compound holders in Excuse? I think that varies on a case-by-case basis, but in general, and in this case, I'm still going to side with Black Mamba just for the sake of, if they are fired upon, all they have to do is go prone to get out of the line of sight of their opponent. Even if they're not, all they have to do is either nothing or crawl a couple steps back, and then they're out of the line of sight of their opponent. So for that reason, I think it's the best. But the new zone has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a northern-oriented zone, and favoring the likes of Mezexis, Galactic, or pardon me, Infinity, favoring Just Esports, members of Passion Fruit, and a few of the Puppeteer crew. We got Godlike coming in from the south as we speak, but it looks like Execute is going to be hanging out a little further down to potentially hold a gatekeep on the boys in TFC and Lycans. Speaking of TFC and Lycans, let's go have a quick look-see to see if they are going to face off. Well, we got Move left, ironically staying dead still, and Execute gonna utilize this opportunity to pull a rotation and get some distance between themselves and their opponents in the Lycans. Everyone can't do it. Someone needs a photographic memory on your... That's very true, Annabelle. Appreciate you guys for being here. Please, please, please do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is the second longest running community tournament in North America, ladies and gentlemen, and I couldn't be more proud of it. My staff and I worked tirelessly on this event to bring it to the community and keep NA relevant in the scene here. So if you appreciated it all, please, please, please do be sure to subscribe to the channel. I run these every month. And be sure to join my Discord server, the RedEyes Den, at redeyesofficial.com for more opportunities and events. Well, Dylan wasting his opponent away there and getting the first kill for his team and himself. Now, that is going to leave me to say, what about his teammates? We got Glacier, Fried Rice. Oh, yeah, it's going to be Fried Rice holding the lower end of this high ground here. And boy, oh boy, you know who's got even higher ground? His opponents, the Tier 1 team in Puppeteer. And boy, is this going to be a situation where Dong and Reckless just utilize the high ground perfectly. And because honestly, from this position, if you're Puppeteer, there's a lot of opportunity to take him out without ever receiving a lick of a retaliatory bullet, as long as they've got the utilities. Well, Passion Fruit off in the distance. It looks to be a kill going for, or a knock going for the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Sixless, in his classic attire, and a Car 9 putting the hurtin' on the rude dudes. So, yep, we're going to switch on back, ladies and gentlemen. Too much elsewhere happening on the playing field. I'm going to go open this once again, and then on the alt cam, we'll keep an eye. Ooh, move left is taking a huge heap of damage, reduced down to 1/4 of his overall health. Things are looking a little grim, but he's going to go ahead and use this opportunity to try to heal up, reprioritize the rotation, and know that it's going to be a fight they have to take on. But Grubble going ahead and living up to his name, being a little bit of trouble for the opponent, but taken down in retaliation, and oof, TFC is out of there. Once again, a rough finish for them. No time to waste, though, especially as Just Esports is seeing. We got the likes of Execute aiming to live up to their name and put an execution on the Just crew, and doing so right there and then. Telly taking Chopper out with that UMP-45 CQC Annihilator, quickly reprioritizing his attention to the two remaining in front of him. This is going to be interesting. All right. Well, Illusion accidentally utilizing utilities on his opponent, or pardon me, his teammate. Illusion naded his teammate, or at least a fellow clanmate. Well, Telly not really able to waste much time here, swimming through the smoke and cooking up a nade. Gonna try to make it rain a little hellfire on this second story holders in Godlike. But, oh, pardon me, in Just Esports. And just like that, Jakun coming in and catching him unawares. But luckily, it's a two-person effort here, and revenge is served. All right, now Execute with 4 kills on the board, continuing as a full 4-piece in strong form and good effort so far. Can they keep it up? Well, the criminals are sent right on back to prison, aka the waiting lobby, as they are finished off here at the hands of Passion Fruit's Sixless with the Car 98. Speaking of Passion Fruit, just outside the edge of zone, going to utilize this opportunity. I'm saying utilize an awful lot. Going to use this opportunity to work their way into zone. It looks like it's going to be an every man for himself vehicle approach. And they're going to be kind of thrown out of the frying pan into the fire basically immediately, as we got Jaguar here holding this high ground. Victex taking a couple retaliatory bullets, but only one connects on him. Victex, all 3 of the kills he's responsible for here. We got Joko, a bit of an off-angle holder, but this could be to their advantage. This could catch Dong very unawares. Tell you what, we'll go check in on him. Dong utilizing this high ground and getting a simple revive on Reckless. And this is a great example of a geographical advantage in full swing. And on a map as wide open as Miramar, ladies and gentlemen, when compound cover can become so few and far between, that's when it really comes down to knowing the geography, the good hills, divots, and good boulders. You know, what little bits of natural cover you can take when none else is afforded to you, and Puppeteer doing so beautifully. All right, where else should we be tuning into? I think I'm going to go check in, no time to waste, actually, on In Hyper and their potential standoff with another Tier 1 org, Mezexis Esports. It looks like GK First has been knocked here, so it's going to be reliant upon Koi, FS, and Ren. But look, the revive is up, and now it's Inactive who takes the hit. We'll get both sides of this altercation up. And it looks like Koi going to try to use this opportunity to reunite with his teammates and potentially weigh their options and dip out of this altercation. Say, we can have our fights later on. We need to make sure we get these placement points here, because they finished phenomenally in round 1, and they don't want to waste it and undo all that progress here in round 2. Okay, Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to our final 12 teams spread across 35 people. Koi just driving through bullets here as they scatter across from him. Probably likely from the East holders and one of Vigilantes. But look, Anders with an off angle. While that could be advantageous for him, it looks like it might be quite the opposite given the spread. Passion Fruit going after Team Infinity right here and now. We're going to go catch eyes on it. It's Sixless, Zuko, and Juancho, but really, it's just Sixless. Sixless and Zuko. Juancho has just been eliminated. Zuko very low on health, so really, all the pressure riding on Six right now to provide that overwatch and cover fire. Luckily, they've already put quite the hurtin' on their low ground opponents in Infinity, and looks like, yep, they had to try to weigh the options. Saint was trying to get that revive. Doesn't look like it's going to be a possibility, and he's going to have to find a way to try to rotate into the zone. But to do so and make it by the high ground holders and Passion Fruit, not going to be easy pickings. Speaking of high ground holders, Mizexis now holding some high ground just outside of the zone, admittedly. Oh, now, pardon me, they're actually on the edge, and now here they're going to have it. They're going to work their way in. It's going to be an aggressive push at the hands of Mizexis right now. Coming in with that 2-2 split. Oh, Baton is taken quickly down. Everest, reduced down to about 10% of his health, is able to get a first aid off, but inactive. Shot down to just above half. Everest joining alongside that health bar. Boy, oh boy, this is a tough one here. Look at the gatekeeps being put down here by not just one of Vigilantes, but in Hyper as well. If you're Mizexis, the only way to get through this is to fight through. There's no going back up that hill because you're open pickings if you do. And that is a great, little example to exemplify Miramar in a nutshell. This open space, yeah, you might have, several hundred meters between you and your opponent, but if there's no, compounds or geography to block their line of sight on you, that distance can be a false sense of security. All right, I think, yep, we're going to go ahead and check in on this last Black Mamba, Mr. Poppy Triste. One crate over from the boys in Hyper. We got Ren getting close. Ooh, fishy of one of Vigilantes utilizing a nade right there. And I really am saying utilizing quite a bit. I'm just going to go along with the idea that I learned the word today on Word of the Day toilet paper, and I'm just making sure I remember. All right. Well, Illusion trying to utilize some heals here. I'm doing it again. But we got in Hyper the threat that they know about. That's the devil they know as opposed to the devil they don't. And the devil they don't is getting real close as Crow comes in to feast upon the corpses. And yep, it's a feast for Crows. All right, getting Illusion out of there. It was all a dream for him. Now Telly going in after Skur. Let's check in on a little bit of both here. All right. Well, ladies and gents, no time to waste here. Before I forget, we've got two more rounds or two more things of UC codes to get through in this match alone. So, without further ado, code number 3 is boom, CKEQMLZJ56, and that's going to be redeemable only at the link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. First come, first serve, 600 UC. All right. Well, we are approaching endgame, ladies and gentlemen. Ren taking an onslaught of bullets and being reduced down to just almost exactly half health. But keep in mind, he is still on a 3-piece heavy hitter team, so you cannot rule the Hyper boys out of the equation really at any point, but especially not when they still have upwards of 3 members remaining. Oh, fire. Almost touching them. And it does actually. Ren is now a candle. Yep, Telly is able to put the hurtin' on Godlike, and that is going to be almost an elimination on them. However, they got one last hope. He is the one Neo of Godlike Esports of the Group C qualifiers, just trying to hold position. He does have one thing going for him, and that he's already in this new zone. Well, in Hyper and Execute, 2 of the 4 teams remaining and preparing for an altercation. Koi surviving by the hair on his chin, but with absolutely 0 meds, 0 resources there, and kill switch, flipping the kill switch right there and then with a nade of his own. And that Koi is taken right out of the pond, turning belly up in the water. And now Rin is the final hope for In Hyper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have approached the end game. If you're just now tuning in, it's round 2. And we have got to get it going here. But boy, Rin and Neo are in a conundrum. Both of them kind of have the same predicament on their hands here. And that's, you have to take the fight on before you reposition. And Neo would doubtlessly fight on Rin if he pushed in the open. And here we go, case in point. Neither of them were expecting Execute's kill switch to be the fiddler on the roof, but there he was, picking him off. Easy claps. Now, can Neo just lay low and let these numbers dwindle down between these other 2 teams? I don't think so. Look at Execute with some hardcore parkour. They are all keeping the pressure on him, making sure that he hears their footsteps. Not going to be making any easy repositionings at least. He's not going anywhere without Execute say so. All right. Final 3 teams, guys. It's a 4v2v1. Execute versus Jaguar and Godlike. To end round 2, let's get it going. All right, alt camera is up so we can get the bird's eye view as well, but Neo is a ticking bomb here. Yup, he wasn't even expecting the push. All right, well, we got a 4v2 on our hands, ladies and gents, and now a 4v1, just like that. Quick work. And my apologies, wasn't able to get there quite in time, but you gotta give it up. A phenomenal performance by the boys in Execute, back in their original full form here, and sending a message to the entire playing field that they came to win. And look at that, with the taste of chicken dinner fresh on the tip of their tongue, they did just that. Very nicely done. Good effort on their end. All right. Well, let me double check on it. Yep. All right. Let me get my camera on. Okay. Well, Execute first place, and doing so with a phenomenal 15 kills. But, ladies and gentlemen, I always play the guessing game, and here I am keeping you guessing. When's he going to do those second UC codes for the match? UC code number 4. I'm going to do it right about meow. Here we go. The 4th UC code, redeemable only at the link pinned to the top of the chat in YouTube. It is gonna be CKEQZMMZ63D. All right, Jaguar Esports, nothing wrong with silver, taking that 2nd place finish with 7 kills between Vicdex and Saba alone. We got Godlike securing the bronze medal 3rd place finish, and doing so with a healthy 3. In Hyper, another strong finish on their end. You got to give them credit where credit is due. A 2nd place finish in round 1 and a 4th place finish in round 2. Not bad so far. They're very much in the running, especially considering that they had 6 eliminations to add to that placement. We got Black Mamba securing 5th, but with only 1 kill, and that came from Poppy Triste. The Puppeteers, no strings on them as they worked their way into 6th place with 4 kills, 3 of which on the dong. We got Mezexis in 7th with 3 as well. All 3 coming from the Crow himself. Now, what about in 8th place? Well, I'm going to have to pull up the alt cam because that's a whoops. 8th place is going to go to Wanted Vigilantes, and that's going to be with a healthy 7 kills, almost perfectly distributed. Everybody eats. The Lycans howling into 9th place with 9 kills. How fitting. 6 of those 9 go to Xeno alone. The Passion Fruit in 10th place with, wow, 8 kills. To be eliminated that early on, but managed to get those kills. Not a bad effort, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to have to still cover a lot of ground moving forward in this last half of the event. We got, did I say 6 kills? I meant 7 kills if I did say that, but 8 kills, excuse me. We got Infinity in 11th with 4 kills, 1 per person, everybody eats, equal effort. The Rude Dudes politely finishing in 12th place with 4 kills between Bangu and Manny. The Criminals sent back to jail early on, 13th place finish with only 1 kill from 99. Just Esports in 14th with 0 kills. There's no excuse for 15th place, especially not with 0 kills on the board. 16th going to TFC, another rough one for him, with only 1 kill from Trouble. We got members of J Nepal grabbing 17th, but with 0. Aton Esports, 18th with 1 kill from Milos. YKG, another tough one, 19th place, 0 kills. And Deuce's family, listen, if you gotta lose in last place, at least you lose as a family. As Vin Diesel says, family's what's important. Not the finishing in last place. But that's what they did. Last place, 0 kills to Deuce's family. But, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen our participants on the first map ever of Erangel, then the wide open desert of Miramar. But what's going to happen when we take things a little bit more into a confined space? I am, of course, speaking of that lush, condensed rainforest / jungle in Sanhok, as we return for round 3 of 4 of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June Tournament Finals, brought to you and sponsored by Hunter of Gunmen, Glacier Gaming, Crafton, and Lightspeed Studios in just a few short moments. Stick around, we'll be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to round 3. Okay, let's just go ahead and get that off of the screen here. I said, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to round 3 of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June Tournament Finals. Brought to you and sponsored by Hunter of Gunman Glacier Gaming, crafted in Lightspeed Studios. Kicking off round 3, you already know it, that lush, condensed jungle of Sanhok. Now, what do we need to say about this map? Essentially the exact opposite of our last match, which was Miramar. This is going to be our smallest map. And now, technically, Livik, Karakin, and the new map, Noosa, are all tinier than Sanhok, but we don't really mess with those quite as often in the esports scene. So this is going to be the smallest map we're working with, meaning that the odds of 2 teams landing next to each other are just going to be a bit higher. But it's also the most condensed map that we have in the game, meaning that it's the most lush in vegetation. There's more natural cover to take, more grass to hide inside, and trees and boulders to hide behind. So you got to be alert for a higher than average number of snakes than usual. And the third and final thing I want to say is that this map is so small that you can basically get anywhere you want on it from the plane, regardless of the flight path. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just now tuning in, it's round 3, but thank you to my phenomenal staff for being able to pull this off. We got the live scores, ladies and gentlemen, as they currently stand. Jaguar holding that first place with 3 more kills than the second place holders in Execute. This is surprising. All right, but we have got to get eyes on the Rude Dudes. I hope that they are able to pull off a little bit better, and as I say that, I notice that they are already totally eliminated. So that is going to be another rough finish for them, but it happens. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and keep eyes on this. Excuse needing to get a revive on their fallen teammate, 4K, leaving it relying on Draco, Kai, and Matt here. But they are swimming here in a pool of Aton Esports members. And boy, look at this. Leon Sino here quickly getting positioning on that rooftop. This is going to be a bad news bears scenario for the likes of Excuse if they are not extra careful. All right, now look. Draco doing a little bit of the same. Ooh, 4K is taken down, and here's the push. Kai on his own, and he's out. Draco is the last chance for Excuse. There's no excuse at this point for being eliminated so early on. So he's going to have to find some way to clutch this if they want any shot at even considering that money as a possibility. All right, well, Valak of Passion Fruit getting a takedown on Dylan from this high ground cliff angle. But as you can see, a little disadvantage of a high ground is that, you know, sometimes if you have an off angle if your opponent has an off angle that you're not aware of, it could be trouble. But again, we already know the advantages of it. You know, if he is shot down, the people he's shooting at aren't going to be able to get the thirst without a utility. Well, Execute up against, oh, pardon me. Execute up against the opposition here in, oh boy, Puppeteer, and now it's down to their last hope, Kill Switch. Just like that. It's going to be a rough one, and Kill Switch is killed right there. The switch has been flipped, and Execute, after such a strong finish, and even after holding second place, all that progress could have just been undone there. All right, no time to waste as In Hyper surrounds the opponents in Criminals. Speaking of a team that really needs to, make up for lost ground, Criminals had a rough one last go around. In Hyper, as a 3-piece, coming in and still playing it like they're a 10-piece. They surround their opponents. Every one of them is comfortable on their own. So when you combine them with a team of all heavy hitters, it's just a tough pill to swallow. Case in point, there's Ren doing what he does, getting a quick takedown. All the while, FSS joining the party and getting a takedown of his own. Koi holding in the back angle in case the Criminals start feeling froggy trying to leap out of here. Molly's missing their mark just a little bit, but here we go. FSS, blood on the mind. It's a 1v... Oh, pardon me, it's a 2v3 here. Well, Passion Fruit having a rough go in the distance as well. All right, let's get eyes on this. Oh, Ren almost got him, but barely missed the mark. The jump shot's actually counterproductive. He doesn't land a single bullet on the opponent and actually swallows a hefty meal of them in retaliation. But luckily, the squad was there and ready. YKG facing off against the opponents in Godlike in A. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like I somehow lost my slot list. I'm going to have to pull that up for myself right here and now. There we go. All right. Ladies and gents, if you are just tuning in, this is round 3 of 4 of my very own RedEyes $450 Dead in June Tournament Finals, brought to you and sponsored by Hunter Gunman, Glacier Gaming, Crafton, and Lightspeed Studios. Oh, it's Chico. The boy has fallen. Now it's Fears 24 and YTDM. Yee. Oh boy, Chico swallowing a utility at the hands of Godlike. Revives trying to be struck here. Heals trying to happen. But Godlike wasting no time and swarming on YKG here. And boy, Fears did not instill any fear there, as he is just taken right down at the hands of that DBS double barrel shotgun. It might not, be nerfed yet. So get it while it's still good. No, Tally, what happened? I see y'all in chat. Well, here we go. Oh, speaking of DBS's 24K, just unleashing mayhem in one spray right there. But it's not enough as Astro DBS's in retaliation. But ladies and gents, while we got a brief moment, we're going to go over the format once again. So we ran 3 rounds of qualifiers, and in those qualifiers, 20 teams competed. Of those 20 teams, 4 advanced. We ran 3 rounds of them, as I said, so 12 qualified teams facing off here and now against the 8 invited Tier 1 professional teams, all for that $450 prize pool. $400 first place, $50 top frag. But that's not all we got going on. If you're just now tuning in, we're doing a total of 10 600 UC code giveaways tonight. So without further ado, UC code number 5 is gonna be CKEQZMNZ3M9. Redeem that at the link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. First come, first serve. Only one redeem per code. 600 UC up for grabs. All right, little bit of downtime here on the playing field, it looks like. Now, that is actually kind of surprising, especially considering, the map is the smallest one we're going to work with. So for as hectic and action-packed as round 2 was early on, well, irony carries over into round 3 as well. It's a slow bit of downtime. But you know what I always say, as I said in rounds 1 and 2, a slow early game only translates to a more action-packed and climactic mid-game. It'll be worth the trade. You'll see. All right, well, getting eyes on Team Infinity. It's down to the last Infinity member. That is going to be Saint. And boy, it's going to take a Saint's effort to come out of this match prosperous for the team. All the pressure riding on him here, but you got to give it up. Infinity did do a phenomenal performance there, given their experience together as a team. In round 2, they all put up a kill, 4 kills to their name, and decent placement as well. They don't want to see that progress undone here at the hands of a Tier 1 pro like Zuko. All right, once again, spread on the playing field. But as we know to be the nature of PUBG, ladies and gentlemen, as this match progresses, that zone is going to shrink. And if you know anything about a RedEyes event, you know that that zone shrink speed has been maxed. You know that the zone damage is boosted. So by all means, if you are just now tuning into my event for the first time, here is my free gift to anyone who's willing to view, do not try to camp and use the heal strat in Sanhok in a RedEyes event. It is instant death. Almost guaranteed. There's always a team who you know isn't watching because they always repeat that mistake. But most of the people, if it's, you know, their second or third time in my event, they generally pick up what I'm putting down. They know to expect it. All right, now this spread is just going to linger. It looks to be a battle of patience, a waiting game between these 14 teams spread across 43 people. And I'm thinking, yeah, I think we'll go over and check in on AT7 versus Mezexis. Now, we got eyes on Everest of Mezexis here. Let's get AT7, the opposition, on the alt cam. Just a little ways away from one another. A little bit of field separating them. But AT7 looks to be swarming a little bit closer here to Mezexis. And as you can see, Inactive and Everett playing the slow strat here, not trying to bring unnecessary attention to themselves, but Crow doing a little bit of the same even further back. So while Mezexis may look like they're camping here, what they're really doing is probably baiting Aton here with Everest in an active location. But as you can see, Crow and Baton still holding that off angle. Whether or not AT7 knows it is yet to be seen. But the problem with that, if that is indeed the approach that they were going for, is that now the two remaining members of Mezexis, Crow and Baton, hold the same angle of opposition as their teammates did just earlier. You know, they still have to face that 190-200 angle. And so realistically, they weren't able to catch that other line of sight on the opponent. It could have been a great opportunity, but opportunities are always easier with hindsight being 20/20. And a nade just raining down upon Baton. And boy, he will spin no more. Now the Crow has been shot down. It's going to be turning him into a nice little Hanukkah candle, taken down to about 1/4 of his overall health. Can he get this first aid off before the inevitable push from Aton Esports? Well, no time to waste it. I think we're going to go switch over. While we keep this on the alt cam, we'll switch out on the main cam to see In Hyper facing off, squaring off against the Wolves themselves.